Friday, which means only one thing. We are going to be rounding up the news from around the PhoneDog Media network, and this week is slightly different because we finally have a name for this video roundup series. Fetch with PhoneDog, where we fetch the news and stuffs from other places, like a dog fetches a stick or something. And yes, mean girls, I am making fetch happen whether you like it or not. Hey Regina, guess what? I made fetch happen. That's right. Yes, I do realise I'm not really talking to you. I just put this in the video. Just for comedic purposes more than anything. But I'm not sure it's going down very well. And they said it couldn't be done. First up this week is the big potential news that Apple could be buying Beats Audio for about $3 billion. And this is surprising because Apple doesn't normally buy big companies like this. When Apple buys companies, we generally don't hear about it, and it doesn't even cost anywhere near even $1 billion. That would be groundbreaking. Up until this point, Apple's biggest purchase was Next Computers at the turn of the century, and that wasn't anywhere near this $3 billion. When Apple traditionally buys companies, they don't generally keep the name, they just get swallowed up into the big Apple company. But it hasn't stopped people from joking on Twitter about Bapple, or Beeple, or whatever else is going on. More importantly, what are Apple going to do with this new company? Partly it's software and partly it's hardware. We might finally get earpods in our iPhone boxes that sound good for once. Vitally, I think it's going to have to be about iTunes and music streaming, because Beats recently launched its own music streaming service and it seems really popular, and the way they've gone around it and the interface of the app is really nice, and most people are singing its praises, which has probably caught Apple's attention, and perhaps Apple already knew about this. But what do you want to see from this buyout if it goes through? Let us know in the comments. Apple came up again this week when the jury of its second big trial against Samsung in the States was kind of not finished. Last week, in the original jury's decision, they decided that they would be awarded $120 million. Well, Apple that was. Samsung had infringed on quite a few of its patents, or a couple of its patents, and so the jury decided that around $120 million is going to be owed to Apple. And then a few days later, at the beginning of this week, they kind of rejiggled the figures, changed some of the awards, and came up with exactly the same number again. Genius. That's fetch. One of the coolest things that I have seen this week actually turned up on Android and Me, our Android network site. The video was made by some students called Seeds by Glass, and it was about 2.5 minutes long roughly, and it was filmed entirely through Google Glass, and it was fantastic, and you should definitely check that out. Of course, in the world of technology, a week can't go by without leaks of some sort cropping up online, and this week we've seen a few. One of them was the gold LG G3, and the other one was a 3D printed prototype dummy of the iPhone 6. Could have been printed by anyone, but it's going along the same lines as all the other prototypes and dummies we've seen so far. It's getting to that point now where you kind of regret Apple releasing a gold iPhone, because every other manufacturer is starting to release gold phones. HTC recently announced the HTC One M8, which would come in gold. The Samsung Galaxy S5 is coming in gold. And this week we saw further news that a bronze/gold/copper Galaxy S5 is on its way to Verizon. And I don't know if you remember, we mentioned a couple of weeks ago that Samsung was going to be releasing a range of Swarovski crystal encrusted Samsung Galaxy S5s. Well, they've been sort of launched. Samsung Galaxy S5 rear panels battery covers that are entirely covered in crystals. If that's not fetch, I don't know what is. I tell you what is fetch. What's really, really fetch? Those Swarovski dangly things they've made for the Samsung Gear Fit. Seriously, it's like we're back in 2003 again. Teenage girls are going to be wandering around with crystal-encrusted phones and blingy things. Joy. Final news piece of the week is again iPhone related, and it is a glitch that somebody found within Siri that lets you access the phone without putting in a fingerprint or a passcode. They essentially used Siri to somehow work their way into the phone app and into the contacts app, allowing you to make phone calls. Thankfully, it wouldn't enable the user to get right into the phone itself and use all the other apps, but still, it's a bit of a concern knowing how easy it is to get past Apple's security on the lock screen. So that's been it for this week's Fetch with PhoneDog. We will see you next Friday when we'll bring you more of the news from around the network. I will see you again soon, and you will find me on Twitter at PhoneDog_Cam. Ask me any questions you like on there. Tell me how much you hate this new Fetch thing if you like. I'm getting used to it, slowly. Thanks for watching right to the end of the video. I know there won't be many of you, but I thought I would leave this little clip in the end of me drinking coffee. But more importantly, I wanted to offer you the chance to decide what I have on my wallpaper on my iMac. So if you have any suggestions, please feel free to leave them in the comments or send me a tweet on Twitter. I'm at PhoneDog_Cam. Use the hashtag wallpaper so I know what you mean. And I will choose my favourite. I'll see you next week.